Welcome to Talking Heads on USA Global TV, starring the one and only wonderful Dr. Jacalyn. It's a prestigious place where world-class influencers and experts meet, and where you'll find the most trusted advisors and coaches for all things in life and business. Visit usaglobaltv.com to sign up for our newsletter, get the value you need, and be first in line to learn about events and giveaways and other valuable content. Connect with us. Email Dr. Jacalyn at usaglobaltv.com to talk about how you can become part of USA Global TV. That's USA Global TV, where the doctor is always in.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to USA Global TV and Radio. I'm Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. I'm the president, founder, and chief listening officer here at our network. Today's show is Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn, a show about nothing. You may be thinking to yourself, how can it be about nothing? Well, we can talk about anything and everything and absolutely nothing, and that's what goes on here. It's like being in a virtual living room, myself and my guest. Today is a special person I've come to love. She's all the way on the other side of the world in Africa, and yet we are collaborating in so many ways. I'm looking forward to see the next things that we collaborate on as well. We'll be talking about that, or maybe we won't. I'm not sure, because we're not going to be having a script. We're going to go wherever Jenetta Barry and the Epiphany Process takes us. Let's welcome her to the show. Hi there.
Hi, hello. Amazing to be back.
You know what's great about this show, because it's like having a conversation. We can actually talk at the same time. Like, you get together with people, you just start chit-chatting. You don't know where it's going to go. So what's new in Africa?
What's new in Africa? Well, we've finally gone into a warmer phase here in East Africa. Although we don't have a winter, we do have a very overcast season. And because we are at 6,000 feet here, and other friends of mine who live a little bit far away are closer to 7,000 feet, we do need to burn a fire at night, even though we're in Africa, because it is so far high up. And that is why Kilimanjaro and Mount Kenya have snow on them, because these are very high areas. They're called the highlands. I'm in the highlands of Kenya. And finally, we've got some sunshine, and the cloud is peeled away. And of course, I've got this beautiful view of Lake Naivasha and Mount Longonot without all the cloud. It's just amazing. We wake up in the morning overlooking this incredible, it's like probably 240-degree view of the Great Rift Valley from our bed in the mornings. Just so lucky. So that's my immediate news.
And another reason to stay in bed more. That sounds fabulous. And hopefully At some point you'll take your phone and just give us a tour of what you see outside your window.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. It's a bit overcast. Having said that, a rainstorm has come up. So it's not an overcast thing. It's a rainstorm that's come in over from, there's a range of mountains called the Aberdare Mountains that are to my left as I'm looking here. And behind the Aberdare Mountains is Mount Kenya. And we haven't had a clear enough day without haze to be able to see Mount Kenya behind the Aberdare Mountains. But the Aberdare Mountains are fascinating as well. The lakes and the mountains in East Africa are breathtaking, absolutely breathtaking.
Jenetta, thanks for sharing that. I think it's so interesting that you were born in Africa, but you've spent a lot of time in the UK, and you go back and forth between the two totally different lifestyles. How would you describe that to our audience?
Like chalk and cheese. I've never been a great one for UK, and that may sound a bit disloyal, but most people I speak to in UK go, yeah, if I could get out of UK, I would. The weather is part of the reason. I always say there is no place like the UK in the middle of summer. It's amazing. Magical, beautiful, it's history. But, apart from this summer where there's been an excess of heat and sunny days, normally you get 1 or 2 good days in a year and you're lucky. And then the rest is really, it's really different and cold and it seeps into you. Whereas having lived in New York, that was a whole different ball game. So it, UK's never been my most favorite place to live. And having a base there, yes. And I've got family there, yes. But that's about it. My heart's really here in Africa and always has been, and especially East Africa, more so than South Africa, which I like. But there is something also very magical about East Africa. Here's an aeroplane arriving. We have an airstrip right outside our house down a hill, and we watch these Cessnas arrive. What they've just done is they've come in to warn dogs and the staff and cars that they're coming into land, because it's only a grass airstrip. So that's what you may have heard. I don't know if you heard it, but that's how we're living at the moment.
I did hear it. So, in other words, the plane descends but doesn't land so that people know it's going to be descending.
Yeah, it buzzes. It comes over and buzzes you. And actually, this is a lovely story to share. I up until 10 years ago, for quite a few years, I was living in another part of the Rift Valley, teaching at a school called Pembroke School. And a lot of kids from Pembroke go to Eton and Gordonston and all those elite schools in UK. It's a big feeder school. In fact, they love taking Pembroke children, and they went to school in the Great Rift Valley. And I was teaching drama and ballet there at the time and doing my other work. And my landlord had his own Cessna. And my little cottage next to his house, next to my cottage, was the hangar for his Cessna. And also the strip was just in front of my house. And we were on top of a hill. And he would take off. And for those of you who know Cookie Gorman, who wrote the story I Dreamed of Africa, which was made into a film, I think with Daryl Hannah in it, he used to take Cookie all around Kenya. He was kind of like her aeroplane taxi driver. So Angus would take off in the morning, and then he would come back in the afternoon and buzz us, as I've just said, come down, because he had a whole herd of sheep. So then the shepherd would have to take the sheep off because they were grazing on there, and then he'd come in and then park his airplane into the hangar next to me. But when Stuart, my eldest, was getting married, Angus came to me and said, because I'd done a lot of work with him with my work as well, and he said, I want to thank you for this work. I'm going to do something really special for you. This is the time of your flight to Stuart's wedding, which was down in South Africa. So just be ready by this time. So I had my bags packed, and he came to my cottage and picked up my bags and put them into his Cessna aeroplane, and we took off, and we flew right across the Rift Valley, right over into Nairobi, right over, not to the smaller airport, which is known as Wilson Airport, which is where small planes like Cessnas land, but to the big main airport, Jomo Kenyatta International, which doesn't normally allow little planes to land. But he was here, the respect an older person is Mzee. He was a revered Mzee. And he was allowed to land there and go into State House apron that normally only the president is allowed in there. And we parked in there. I had my very special friend Dudu White with us as well. And we parked in State House apron. And I got out, and all these security men came, and they took me away through to where my flight was. And you could see everybody in the airport going, whoa, this is somebody really important. And who are they? And who is it? And I got my sunglasses on, and I'm strutting the stuff going, well, this is really rather cool. And we get to where I'm going to check in. And of course, they see all the security around me, and the airline says to me, "So is this first class, madam?" And I go, "No, economy." Thank you. and I got onto that plane. So I basically left my cottage and got onto my plane to another country. And then when I got back, we did it in reverse. So I arrived, and there was the security waiting for me as I stepped off the plane, and they escorted me back to State House Apron, and Angus and Dudu and I took off back, and I landed at my cottage and walked in. It was like, oh my word, if we could all travel like this, it would be so nice. But what a treat.
What a great story. So you were a queen for 2 days.
Well, I was a queen for a nanosecond till I had to go no economy. Then everybody went, oh, okay.
You could tell them you just wanted to be with, people in the back.
Yes, I wanted to yes, this is my first time in economy.
That is truly a great story. I dated a pilot for a short period of time. And when I look back on it, it's kind of funny. I remember it was Valentine's Day, and he wanted to take my parents. I don't know if he wanted to take my parents, but he took my parents and me for a plane ride to Atlantic City in New Jersey. And
Wow.
we had such a great time. And of course, afterwards, I was thinking, wow, I didn't even bother to do any research like that. We just got into the plane and said, okay, we're going to be fine. And we were fine. It was a completely different experience than flying in a big commercial jet.
There's something magical about it. And in fact, we've got a very close couple who are friends of ours in UK, and he's a big Cessna pilot. He has his own Cessna in UK, and one of his bucket lists is to fly around here, and they're going to be the witnesses to our wedding. So when they arrive, we'll probably have another few turns around here as well, which will be rather nice.
All right. You said the key word, Jenetta. You opened the door for that about the wedding. So when you first had it last, you said you didn't really have any specific plans, but do you have a month in mind or a year in mind when you're actually going to? No.
No, not really. The only reason was that when it came to light, when we talked about it last, when it came to light, we were just going to step into a registry office in UK, get it done, and then tell everybody. I mean, after all, I'm in my 60s, Andy's in his 70s. What's the big deal? And two things happened. One was when we started telling everybody, they went, "Are you out of your mind? Because if you'd done that, we'd have been so furious with you." So I'm so glad it couldn't work out, because what happened was we tried to do that, and the COVID list to get married there was so long that I would have already been here in Kenya by the time we could have done it, before Andy arrived. So we went, okay, rather like us deciding to get married, the best moment to talk about it and agree about it came in the most beautiful, beautiful way. So will this date, without having to force it or put it into place. I had to wait for Andy to arrive, and then our dogs. We brought 2 dogs from UK. They flew by jet overnight, and settling them. And then we moved from one house on this property to another. So that was another move. And then, of course, next week, I'm away in Savo Game Park doing this cycle safari for World Jenny's Day. And then when I get back, by the way, one of the people cycling is a paraplegic man from Spain, and he's coming back to the Rift Valley with me. And then when he's been here 2-3 days, Andy has to get to UK on business. And then just as he gets back, his daughter arrives with her adult son and 7-year-old son. So there's a lot happening and then there's World Jenny's Day between now and the end of October. So nothing can happen before then. So we've just decided to see where this leads us and when it will happen. The rings are being made by a very special friend of ours in in Nairobi who's been a jeweler since I can remember. She's and was so much a part of Full Circle Rainbow being my book being written. So we're just taking it with the flow. And of course, we've just had elections, which were quite tense. So the rings have slowed down in being made because everybody went into underground whilst there were elections here. Because I don't know if you know, Kenya nearly went into civil war 15 years ago after elections. So everybody tiptoes around very cautiously at election time. And so that's why we've also just said, let's see how it goes wedding-wise.
I can say that you are an incredible event planner, because the scale of the events, World Jenny's Day and the Safari bike ride, that takes a lot of skill and talent, knowledge, networking, patience, plan B and C and D. I mean, there's a lot involved with planning events. So I can see how you would want to take the time for when you get married, because it's so special. And to your point about people giving you a hard time, I think that we're all looking for something to celebrate, and a union, I should say, like yours is really special.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. And one discounts it. You go, oh, well, it's no big deal. But people who are close to you want to be able to share that joy. And when you discount it, it's actually a little bit selfish, I suppose, in a sense, to not realize that people want to be part of that. It's kind of like, yeah, you just want to be. I know if my best friend got married or remarried or whatever, I'd go, oh, but I needed to know before, and I would love to be a part of it. So yeah, it's easy to forget that it's not just about you and your partner. It's bigger than that.
Yes, I agree with you. And I think also we talk a lot on this channel about longevity and people living to be 100 plus. In fact, my close friends, really my lifelong friends, her father-in-law is 102 and doing really well. And, I've seen him and he looks amazing. But the point is that as we live longer, it's really wonderful to know that we can find a partner through the next chapter of our life. It's not just like, oh, you're 20 or you're 30, you're getting married. So you mentioned you're in your 60s, Andy's in his 70s. How beautiful is that, to be able to come together and say, hey, I found my person in this chapter of my life, and this is who I'm going to go out of this life with. So I think that's really beautiful.
Yeah, I agree. And to be honest, I mean, I've only had 2 relationships after my divorce, and I've been divorced 15 years. And I realized at the end of the last one that as much as we both had things that didn't make it work, it's so easy to go, well, they were, and it was because they were, and because da 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 da. And then I had to stop and go, I'm not doing another relationship again until I've really worked on me. Mm. Because when we get to this stage of life, we get really stuck in our isms. And people find that, especially past experience from past relationships, past whatever, start influencing you heavily in a relationship at this time of our lives. And if you're really stuck in yourself and what happened in the past, which happens as you get older, you get stuck in your ways, it's really difficult to be open to a new relationship. And I could see very clearly that there was a lot of stuff that I needed to work through, even coming back to Kenya with a relationship. This time it was coming to like parts of what didn't work with my marriage here in Kenya. Were even last week something came up and I was going, oh my gosh, there's me. And I would be really wise to work on that. And so I worked for 6 years on myself before stepping into this relationship with Andy. And I know that we attracted each other into each other's lives because he's prepared to be flexible and change his ways. And that's very unusual at our stage of life. But I do know, because I changed me, I became attracted and attractive to somebody who was able to change as well. And that makes a big difference at this stage, because just about everybody I know who's having a later relationship just say, you know, we're too stuck in our ways, and it's really darn difficult to not let what Mavis said or Harry said in our first marriages or did or didn't do or should have done and could have done, and all those things influence how you are today, and you're in defensive or whatever it is. And it very rarely works. So I really believe you've got to work on yourself first and then turn out from yourself.
Really good points. I agree with you. And you also said something that made me think about how many times in the relationships that I've been in, I haven't been in a relationship for over 2 years, but in the past, when I was in relationships, how many times the other person would do something that would trigger a memory of someone else's behavior. And then I would take all of that pain that I had from the other relationship and put it upon the new person. And there's a lot of defense mechanisms that we have because we're not healed. So taking the time to really get to know yourself is vitally important. So we also have a comment from our friend Adam. Hi, Adam. He writes, me and my wife got married in 2021 and we wanted a good wedding, low key, but my in-laws wanted to go all big. So my question, comparing to the common ground, where is the limit with that in respect of all parties? What are your thoughts, Jenetta? You want to go small and the family wants you to go big? And
yeah, I think the big thing, and even with my marriage to Dave Barry, whose wedding is it? And I know when I was getting married to Dave Barry, his parents, his mum was landed gentry, and you know, directors of Anglos in Southern Africa, and Dave and I had to sit down and say, whose wedding is it anyway? Is this about gaining business, or is this a celebration of the union of two people? So we were very strict when I got married the last time as to how many people we wanted, and that everybody there was known to both Dave and I and meant something to us. So that's my personal opinion, and it's going to be the same this time. This is going to be a small wedding. And we've had to be very practical and know that the chances of both our children, because Andy's got 3 daughters, and I've got 2 sons and a daughter, of them all being there are very remote. You know, the South African rand is very low compared to the Kenya shilling, the dollar, and the pound. So for South Africans to get here, it's really costly. You know, and they all came from my 60th, which wasn't very long ago. So the chances of my kids being there are not very high. So to me, my feeling is any sort of party is when it's heartfelt and put together because you love and appreciate everybody who's there, and they love and appreciate you.
yeah, great points. And I also think, at least from my perspective, when it's the first wedding, it can be different than the second, third, because you have that experience and that knowledge. And weddings do cost a lot of money. I know I've been married once and I'm divorced since 1999. The wedding was fabulous. The marriage was not fabulous, but the wedding was black tie at one of the premier hotels in Philadelphia. And we pulled out all the stops. We kept the band for an extra hour. And my ex actually had a change of clothes. He had black tie, then he had a white jacket, and it was amazing. I will remember the wedding forever. But it was super expensive, and the marriage didn't work out. So we had a great honeymoon as well. I think 3 weeks in Hawaii. But when you look back on all that
Wow.
money that was spent, it's Yeah, it's very different today than it was back
Well, I don't know. I mean, look at the memory that money's given you. Think about that. The memory of that wedding. And I mean, it's a two-edged sword, because I think a lot of women want a wedding like that because it comes from the fairy tales that we listened to as children, you know. And Cinderella had this amazing gown, and you know, it's all that sort of stuff. But having said that, the other side, to me, when you have a special ceremony, even though the outcome from that ceremony wasn't what was expected, the memory of sharing that happiness and that ritual, you've got that for the rest of your life, really, rather specially. I mean, I
That's
feel you
true.
could disagree with me.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's true.
Yeah.
It was an incredible event, and I knew it was doomed because the best man gave a toast, and he said, "Let's all raise our glasses, you know, to my ex-husband's name." And then his first wife, instead of me, he said to the first wife, and everyone went, "Oh!" So we kind of knew that, yeah, this wasn't going to work. But in terms of an event, it was fabulous. So much fun, so much dancing. Do you like to dance, Janetta?
I do. I mean, obviously, having grown up with ballet and contemporary and all that dancing, and I was taught to waltz when I was about 9, because I was in Sound of Music, and we were in Sound of Music as a family. So I do, and I especially love Argentinian tango, because it's actually definitely, even the terminology when you tango, Argentinian tango, that is, and real proper Argentinian tango, not ballroom competition European style Argentinian tango. There's lot of similarity to the Epiphany process and terminology, and the balance and the yin and yang of the man, and the tension and the release of that dance as they come together, and they come away. And it's why it opens up the second act of insight, as we talk about black and white thinking, and there's the people all in black and the people all in white trying to balance in the center, and in the center are two tango dancers doing a dance in absolute balance, as these black and white figures are trying to come together, pulling apart, as our thoughts and emotions prevent us from being in that balance that tango is. So tango is my greatest. Do you like dancing? What's your favorite dance?
Well, I would love to take dance lessons at some point, but I just like, I don't know what it's called, just free form dancing. You just get up and start moving around, and
Ah, yes. Yes, I love that too.
I
Where
could
you
dance for
just any
hours.
music and just, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and
You know,
it's a form of meditation. I'm sure you found that.
Caroline Heward, one of our team members, she talks about that as well. She just dance for hours. It would actually be fun if we didn't have the delay of the 7 seconds, the 10 seconds, the 20 seconds, whatever it is, depending on where you are, to actually just play music and have and dance, like people from all over the world just dancing. I
Oh,
think that would be fun.
yeah. It would be amazing. Love to do that.
Well, let's think
Yeah.
about it. It's, yeah, and I know that they do that on Zoom because I believe Caroline has gone to some events where they actually have this dancing, and they've got a DJ, and it's a lot of fun. So it's a good
Wow.
release for mental health, and also it's good for physical activity, which, by the way, I just walked right into that. I just wanted to share, you probably saw it, but yesterday I did a 15-minute straight arm plank. My brother-in-law filmed the
I
last,
did.
yes, and I'm going to go to 20. But the
Wow.
point is, it's all mental. I mean, you have to have strength, right? But obviously, you know, I feel it in my wrists, and my whole body's shaking. And when I was at the 2 minute mark, I wanted to stop, but of course I'm not going to. But my point is, I believe that mentally we can will ourselves to do things if we really want it.
I so agree. I couldn't agree more. And the fact that you've done that, I mean, I was mega impressed. I was rushing through and I wanted to actually remark, and I got sidetracked, because to do that, it's a combination of mental, emotional, physical, and just an overall, I will do this. And then you do it. I mean, it's like Roger Bannister's mile, isn't it? When once he did his mile, everybody was doing it. But before he did it, everybody was saying it was physically impossible.
Yes,
but once one person did it, everybody was doing it and smashing it.
Now, I have to say with that, for example, as much as I would like to say, oh, I could go and do that, I don't believe I physically am capable of doing that. Now, could I start training and run faster than I can now? Definitely. But
definitely,
but
that. It's a mixture of things. You might not have it, but also if it's not in your value system, you're not going to do it.
Yeah, it's not in my value system.
For me, it's not in my value system. My value system is anything creative. So I will dance for 24 hours. I will do pirouettes. I will do things all that I'm told at 64 you can't do anymore. I'll do all that because I really value it. And bet your bottom dollar I'll do it. But run that mile or do the planks like you're doing. No, forget it. I'd rather stand on my head for 2 days than do that. So.
Well, that would be interesting if you stood on your head for 2 days. I would love to see that.
Yes, be very different.
Well,
having said that, yeah,
that's not happening. No, I was going to say, having said that about standing on your head, I practiced yoga for years. I don't practice anywhere near like I used to. But I have over here in my studio, I have a headstand chair. Have you ever seen these?
No.
I'd love to reach it, but and my headphones won't go that far. But it has cushion and then some wood, and you actually hold on to the wood. You put your head in between the leather where the hole is, and then you bring yourself up. And it's really good to be upside down. And if you're just learning how to do a headstand, it's a great way, because there obviously is some fear in some people in going upside down, but it's like even doing a back bend, it's so good for us to go the opposite way from the way that we're always going. So anyway, I love doing that, and it's good for core work as well, because you have your legs straight up and you can bring 1 down, 2 down, you can have them straight, and it's really a good workout. So I got that during the pandemic and I just love it.
Wow. I'm hugely impressed, and that's what I would try and do. If I had one of those, I would really like to do it, because all in my childhood days, we used to do headstands and handstands and what they call in ballet candle, where you put your feet up straight on your neck from the floor, the bridge, all those things. All the more suppling things, and I loved them. My body didn't particularly like them. I wasn't particularly supple, but I loved doing them, and I miss that. So I tell you, if it was here, I would give it a go.
You can get it on Amazon.
System.
Not a paid spokesperson.
I will get the link from you.
I'll send you the link. Well, it's supposedly, and I don't know this, so I'm just putting that as a disclaimer, but supposedly if you are upside down, it helps with the aging process. Have you ever heard anything like that? With the wrinkles?
Yes, you wake up the next morning looking 10. No, I haven't.
And then you're not old enough to get married, so.
No, I haven't heard that, but it makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. Before we close out, I just wanted to say I had the opportunity to meet your son, Neil, which was amazing. And he's also in Africa. So tell us about what he's doing, because I think people would find that really interesting.
Yeah, wow, Neil, he's a really interesting. He's been my most interesting child in terms of the way he handles life. And from the moment he was born, he had these laughing eyes, and his daughter Kiara's got them as well, really mischievous laughing eyes. So it was like he was always laughing at life. And he decided he didn't want to be behind a desk for the rest of his life. And having grown up quite free here in Kenya, he decided to study as a field guide, and became a game ranger, and did quite a lot in his training phase for helping the environment of where he was and so on. Then ended up in a place called Madikwe, which is on the Botswana border in South Africa, and got an incredible amount of exposure there. Then ended up in the Okavango Delta in Botswana, and is now on the border of Mozambique in South Africa. And in fact, I just thought of you earlier because he sent through a picture of there is a fence between him and his two daughters, who are 6 and 2, looking at a hyena right at their fence where they live. And that's the life that he and my special daughter-in-law and 2 grandchildren have in Africa. And he's now sharing on our USA Global TV show called Global Adventures. He's sharing, he first shared his backstory, and the next few shows, the next show we're doing, I'm in Tsavo Game Park and telling everybody about what we're doing in Tsavo Game Park with the cycle safari. But after that, we've got Neil for the next, I think it's 3 shows, where in December last year, he decided that it was time to give his children a different education than just school. And he piled them and Ashley into his 4x4, and they drove from Botswana through to South Africa, through to Namibia, up to Angola, to the Caprivi Strip, and across the top of the Delta and Botswana into Zimbabwe, and then down through to Mozambique, to the coast of Mozambique. And what these children didn't experience, I mean, they were doing sand dunes in the deserts of Namibia, the Zimbabwe ruins, which are ancient in Zimbabwe. In fact, the one that really impressed me was Bella standing at some rocks that are so metallic that when you hit them, it sounds like a drum, a metallic drum. So he's going to be sharing those adventures and some really interesting times of what happened in that time. It's very insightful. And so Neil's been able to step on and share with us in this platform too, which really gladdens my heart. I love it.
I love it too. It's so special being with the 2 of you together. So thank you for bringing Neil to the platform. And Jenetta, we have to sign off, but please let people know more information about the safari and also World Jenny's Day and the work that you do with the Epiphany Process.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Jacalyn. So next week, we have a World Jenny's Day fundraiser where a very experienced guide and organizer is taking a group of us through from Kilimanjaro into Tsavo Game Park West and then into Tsavo Game Park East. It's divided, by the way, by the main Mombasa Road from Nairobi to Mombasa. Well, actually from Mombasa right through to Uganda. But that's why the game park, which is a natural game park, is divided. So we're going from Tsavo West to Tsavo East with Mount Kilimanjaro always around us, which is amazing. And we're staying at 6 different camps and lodges each night as we cycle. Having said that, I've organized to do a little bit of cycling. I decided I wasn't going to because I'm not that fit. I had to stop ballet earlier this year due to a knee problem. But I've decided I am going to cycle a bit. But we're offering it. Anybody, we've got a few spaces left if you'd like to join us. If you're not a cyclist, you can join me. In fact, we've got Miguel, who is a paraplegic coming through from Spain. He's doing some of the safari with his bicycle. So he'll be joining me, and you can join us there in one of the backup vehicles, because there are backup vehicles. If you don't want to cycle at all, or if you've got really feisty teenagers with a lot of energy and you think, I'd love to join, but I don't want to cycle, but the kids can do it. That's great too. Or if you've got friends, but you just like the safari adventure. And on the last night, we're getting to the north coast of Kenya, where the sand is like talcum powder white, beautiful reef. Ocean sports are owned by friends of mine. In fact, his mother was my kindergarten principal. So that's how far back we go in Kenya. We're ending there on the 2nd, from the 28th of August to the 2nd. And if you'd like to get here, you don't even have to organize to bring a bike. The bike's there for you. So let me know. And then the Epiphany Process was born really after I lost Jenny, my daughter, to suicide when she was 16, after she and I argued. And I found accurate ways to get through this. In fact, that's something else I'd like to talk about in another show, was the PTSD I recently had from that loss. Because as much as I have it all in a place of open-hearted understanding, sometimes that PTSD does come up, and how to handle that. And then we realized that Jenny had died on World Mental Health Day, so we have World Jenny's Day on 10th of October, using theatre and the arts to soften and normalize conversations around feeling compromised, feeling depressed, feeling suicidal, and all those solutions. And it's been a very successful day. Each day we've run it, and this year I am just so proud to announce that we're doing it on this platform. And so tune in for that. And if you'd like to know more about the Epiphany Process and how, in fact, tomorrow, I think it's tomorrow, we've got Victoria. Victoria is one of my long-term clients who's taken the Epiphany Process. She had a really PTSD time after rebels attacked her and her family. And she's on tomorrow on the art of mental health wealth. If you'd like to know more about the Epiphany Process and Toya's story there, her success story, she has become such a successful person in her own right. She's with us. So if you'd like to know more about that, join in tomorrow at 9 a.m. EDT. And at theepiphanyprocess.com, as you see in my header, my banner here, and worldjennysday.com. All of that will give you a mine of information about the backstory and how to become involved with us if you'd like to. And thank you, Dr. Jacalyn.
Thank you, Jenetta. I appreciate it. And I look forward to seeing you tomorrow.
Lots and lots of love.
Lots of love to you as well. Bye for now. Thank you to each and every one of you, whether you're watching us on the live or listening on the live or the replay. We're happy to have you. If you are on our YouTube channel, USA Global TV and Radio, please do subscribe. All of our shows are put into playlists. So we currently have, I think, 30 shows since we started a new one on Sunday called Get Off Your Couch. And we had pro athlete, trainer, coach Tony Simmons. He was with us with Sarah Gillian, my co-host, and we did some arm exercises. So Anyway, you can go check that out over there, as well as all of our other shows on our YouTube channel. Please click subscribe. All right, we're signing off for now. The next show coming up at the top of the hour is Talking Heads with Mr. Al Cini. And Al is just a fabulous presenter. I learned so much from him. Today, he's going to be joined by Lisa Manioki. So do tune in for that. So we'll be right back after this short time away. Thanks again. Bye.